There he goes now, the man who came up with the spelling for the word rhythm, facing execution as befits the crime.
Thumper is an on-rails rhythm game in the tradition of everything ever made by Harmonix. In it, you play as the scarab thing from the cover of a Journey album as you traverse a subway line through the voids of Hajime Sorayama's Fever Dream. As the driver of the Nightmare Beetle, your job is to make sure you don't crash and explode. The basic structure is quite simple. You press two buttons, stick and A. Stick to grind the walls and add conditions to the A button, which you tap or hold in time to the song. If you screw up, our friendly scarab blows apart and sends you back to the last checkpoint. Along the way, you will occasionally run into a giant spooky skull boss fight that will test the skills you have learned to that point. Overall, this progression is good and it teaches you new stuff and then makes sure you have mastered it before moving on to the next level. That is perfectly functional and adequate game structure. In typing that last sentence, I was half tempted to just copy-paste it and read it over and over like Jack Torrance. Everything in this game is perfectly functional and adequate. The graphics are fine, the shiny thing looks shiny, and the effects are pretty neat. The art direction is lonely and imposing, with geometric shapes arranged in a way that will be really cool on LSD. The music is industrial. It fits the game pretty well, given that everything feels kind of empty and pulsating, like being the only person on the dance floor for a DJ who insists on playing the Matrix Reloaded soundtrack. That's really it. It's all adequate. It feels a lot like one of those games that comes out alongside a new console or piece of technology that demonstrates what can be done and then is immediately forgotten as the novelty wears off. And really, that's what it's probably going to be. You'll buy a PlayStation VR and be really excited for the innovative new games that are coming out with this shitty hardware gimmick. Then, when there are like 5 titles, you'll get this one and play it for like a night, and then go back to the same 3 games you always play anyway. In a few months, you'll trade it to GameStop for 3 pesos and some chewed up bubblegum, and it will be erased from your memory banks faster than a romantic evening with Bill Cosby. Maybe I'm just jaded. I hate to sound like Andy Rooney, but I've been with the rhythm game genre ever since my local Kmart closed down and they were practically giving away copies of Frequency. It was love at first sight, bright colors, a huge variety of songs, some loved, others hated, and fun, fast gameplay. A couple years later, the PS2 Network adapter came out, and it was bundled with FreakNet, my first online experience. I discovered hundreds of other people who loved the game like I did. It was cooperative, it was competitive. We shared mixes of our favorite songs and showed off our freak avatars and challenged each other to complete the dreaded Ow My Fingers mix, all while staying up till 4 AM wasting precious dial-up phone bill minutes. The game was alive and vibrant, a community centered around our love of the songs and each other. Amplitude was one of the 3 games I have ever pre-ordered, the other 2 being Civilization 6, who I later married, and Final Fantasy X, which is the reason I became a cynical asshole and never trust hype anymore.
You probably shouldn't laugh anymore.
Amplitude was a new community. Some old people, some new people, and an overall expansion on the original concept. The songs were done by bigger names like David Bowie and Slipknot. The environments were bigger and more polished. The gameplay was improved without changing too much. It was one of the better sequels ever made because it understood its core audience and made it for them. Years later, of course, came Guitar Hero and Rock Band. These games took everything that was great about their predecessors and made it even better. But everyone knows these games, so I won't go into it too deeply. The important thing is that the clunky plastic instrument games were a cool fantasy that brought you and your friends together around a campfire of good music. We all have Rock Band memories, and even though we never will, everyone gets that longing to go back and sing Eye of the Tiger one more time with your buddies. All of these games are about bonding with music, a community of rhythm, the color and joy of shared sound. Thumper, on the other hand, is about floating alone through a creepy void and obsessively obeying commands given to you by an oppressive industrial skull. Yes, it's competent, but as an experience, it's more depressing than anything else. I don't see anyone having a favorite song from the soundtrack, or getting together with friends to have a few beers and play Thumper. No, it's not that kind of game. Now, while it may have done well in making a soundtrack and the control scheme needed to interact with it, it missed the boat on what makes other rhythm games fun. Amplitude and Guitar Hero and their like are inviting people over to get drunk and dance on the beach. Thumper's sitting alone in a dark bedroom with earbuds in, scribbling the letter S on the cover of a Trapper Keeper. What I'm saying is they're fundamentally different experiences. If you're the type of person who enjoys black and white East European cartoons and going to restaurants alone, you might like Thumper.